She's April.
And she's Molly.
And we are
the Book Besties. We know that Scott was some sort of fucker.
Scott, Drew, Adam, Andrew. They're all the fucking same names.
A cut scene in which the three of them have sex together.
She knew he'd put the moves on.
I don't think your husband did it.
Kelly's a good girl.
It feels like it was foreplay for them.
Hasta luego, fuckers.
Did you take your meds today?
You too, bitch! What the fuck was that?
I don't know.
Okay, I get to say that. As the person that's normally that person, what the fuck was that?
I don't know. I wanted to do something different, and then I couldn't think of something to do different. And then I was like, I'll do it like normal. But I didn't. So
it's an in-between. Ta-da!
I don't know. I'm sleepy. I had an MRI this morning. I'd be
early at ass crack of dawn.
Yeah, I'd be there at 6:30 a.m. So I'm sleepy.
Well, we've had a busy couple of months. So, besties, this is the second episode. But it's not. It's the first episode.
Well, last week we had an episode where we had a guest, so we couldn't really talk about what we did off pod during the summer because we didn't want to, be weird with our guest.
I mean, she would be totally out of the loop. No offense, but she's probably not a book bestie as hardcore as we're book besties.
Although, to be fair, she does own a booktube channel, so
she's a little bit busy
all the time, and she has spent her summer at least once a week her summer with me. So
yeah. So she knows us, she just doesn't know us.
Right.
We didn't want to waste her time either.
Right.
The biggest news, I have a big girl job.
I know. I'm so
exhausted.
Happy for you. It was a long summer of interviews and applying for jobs.
And getting jobs. And then I had, guys, you don't even understand. I had at one time 4 jobs.
4 jobs.
And they all collapsed.
And you're not working at any of them.
I'm not working at any of them. All 4 offered me positions. And then, within a week, all 4 crumbled. Mm-hmm. So I started the whole process over again. And then I had 3 job offers. And that's how I landed at this one. You okay over there?
No, I feel like I look weird. I curled my hair, but it's not I don't know. Sorry. Yeah, you have a big girl job. I'm excited for you.
It's only 2 days a week. I don't, it's
this is the first time that you've worked since you separated from the Coast Guard.
Yes, this is my first, job out in the world.
Yeah.
And you people with, the grown-up jobs and putting on the pants and stuff, that shit's exhausting.
I wear skirts.
Okay, well, you know what I mean. Putting on the real clothes. I have leggings on right now. I can't do that at work.
Yeah. I mean, you can if you work my job. I just put them under my skirt.
She literally doesn't care. I came in yesterday in a beetle. But I also yesterday was, super, dead to the world. I slept like shit. I'm having sinus issues. The weather in Maryland's been fucking insane.
Oh, yeah. We're having the same weather here in Virginia because we're not that far from you. It was 100 degrees yesterday.
Yes. And then a week ago, it was 50.
Yeah. The hurricane came through and it was just,
Ugh,
in addition to you getting a job, some things that I did this summer besides my job, which is super busy in the summer.
You did do your grown-up job.
Yes. Nurse Katie and I just on a whim decided to do what we called Smut Girl Summer.
It was so good. And now it has to be an annual thing.
I think it does. We've already talked about doing it again. So basically,
I might participate next summer now that I have my life together.
Yeah. I mean, that'd be great. We'd love to have you. It wasn't for pod. We just wanted to read. Katie and I love romance novels. Probably more than you do and we have more of a variety of romance novels that we like. We like romantasy, which I know you don't really like. And you like historical romance, and I don't like that.
Katie likes it more than me, but
yeah.
I like a touch of realism in my romance.
I want a happily ever after. I don't care. I don't care how it happens. It can be an alien, a monster. It can be whatever.
You know,
a normal guy, a fairy. I just want a happily ever after.
So my sister-in-law has been posting that she's on her 4th read of the A Court of Roses series. Mm-hmm. And I go, ma'am, I have a podcast. You need a different series. She goes, I know, but I don't know where to go.
But it's so good. And think of how many times we read Twilight. Like, that's,
I know.
So Katie and I, did you take your meds today?
I did.
Okay.
This is medded. I'm just being awesome.
Yeah, that's a word for it.
This is what awesome looks. Shut up.
I love you.
And by the way, Matt's asked me today if I've taken my meds.
Oh, good. So we're in for a long episode. Oh, shit! I did not mean to do that.
You too, bitch!
I did not mean to do that. I was grabbing my fidget. Okay, so Katie and I, we read... so the plan was to read... I think it was to read 4 books a month, but we ended up reading...
so many.
We didn't read 4. We read
a lot.
We started in... Did we start in June? I don't remember.
July.
We read 9 books is what it ended up being. And
a lot.
I started a spreadsheet where we just both added books that we were interested in, books that were already on our physical TBR, and then we picked from there. And I mean, we had some real winners on there.
Some real trash cans.
Oh my gosh. I love Katie, but she did not pick good books.
You know what, though? That's what I love about Katie. And Katie, you're going to hear... I love you. You will read anything.
She will read anything.
You are a reader that gives every book a chance.
And she also reads so fast.
So fast. You literally do not judge a book by its cover.
No.
Literally. She's the definition of that.
We were reading...
And I love you for it.
We were reading a book a week just for Smut Girl Summer. She was also reading like 4 or 5 books at a time. I don't know how she does it, but...
I don't either. It's like...
So my favorite one that we read this summer...
And I love you.
My favorite one we read this summer, and Katie's too, was Archer's Voice. Mm-hmm. And I think I'm going to try to add that to pod for next season and maybe have Katie come on because we really loved it and we want you to read
Force me to read it.
I don't think you will otherwise. So that one. And then Elle Kennedy's The Deal, which I just bought the rest of the series today. It was so fucking good. It's one I've seen on the socials a lot, but it's college students. And I was like, how am I going to feel reading about college kids banging? But there's a depth to the story that isn't college. And there's a care that the main male character has with the main female character that you just don't see a lot. And I really liked it.
Really?
And then we had some really bad ones. We read the first book I think it's called Shadow Shifters or something. It's supposed to be like werewolves, and it's called Rejected, and it was awful. It was so fucking bad. It was so fucking bad.
Bad writing or bad content?
Yes, both. And Katie read the second book in the series. It's a trilogy. Like, she read the second book because she wanted, like, it ends on like a cliffhanger. And then when the second book ended on a cliffhanger, she was like, I don't care enough to read the third one. And the same thing with A Touch of Darkness. That I was weary about that one anyway, because I love mythology, but I'm not a big fan of the Hades and Persephone story. I don't find it cute or romantic. I don't want to retell it. And then it was a retelling told in modern day, but the gods had come back, but still they have like everyone in the community has like names of people from ancient Greece. Like, why would that make a comeback? No, it wouldn't. So, it was not for me. And Katie ended up reading the second one in that too. Huh?
I can't talk. I literally have a character named Janice in my...
Janice isn't Achilles.
Right.
Oh no, he wasn't Achilles. What was his name? I don't remember now, but
he goes by Jan in my book, but still, like, I mean, I don't alter the names in my mythology book, but I'm also feeding mine to kids, right?
Yeah, it was not good. It was not good. And so Judy read the second one in that series too, and then she was like, no, I don't care enough to finish the series either. So
we appreciate you doing the hard work for others, Katie. Yeah. You're a good reader. How others survive.
Her if there was anything I needed to know from them, and she was like, no, they're awful. And I was like, cool. So that was really fun. That was something that Katie and I did together, and it's all over our social media. So Actually,
You'll find
Instagram
it.
and Facebook. I didn't post the things to TikTok, although I think I did post like a couple reels to TikTok. But if you want to know what we did for Smut Girl Summer, scroll through our Instagram. There'll be a picture of me and Katie and then a description of each, and we give a review of the books. And we didn't agree on all of them, so you can get both sides.
No.
And then you and I did something fun.
We did. And you know what? We do this all the time.
Yeah.
Everybody
we
needs to know.
We haven't done it in a few years, though.
We haven't. But this is the tradition for April and I. And the last time the last time you and I really did this hard is when it was that night I got really hammered and wrote the 89K book afterward.
Yeah.
But we did one of the best things you can do with your bestie.
Yes.
Rewatch the Twilight series.
Yes. And we do it distantly. So we basically text each other, okay, when your phone hits this time, hit play. So we end up being a few seconds off because, I mean, that's just the way it works.
We were synced up completely. But after that, timing was, but we were close.
We were close the whole time. And then we were texting each other. And I didn't text you this, but I want to share this on pod.
Okay.
I want to share with you what is my biggest pet peeve of the series, of the movie series. And no, it's not the blue lighting. It's not the
vampires don't have sperm.
The vampire sperm is my biggest pet peeve with the books. This is my biggest pet peeve with the movies.
Oh, I think I know what it is.
It's not the blue lighting. It's not
Alice's hair.
It's not Alice's hair, and it's not Bella's hair either. It's not Jasper's accent coming and going. This is what it is.
That's disgusting.
This is what it is.
Oh, boy.
In the first Twilight movie, when Bella goes to the Cullens' house for the first time, they are making her Italiano because her name is Isabella.
Right.
And while they're in the kitchen, and she mentions that she's already, she's like, oh yeah, sure, I'm hungry. And he's like, she's already eaten. And she's like, yeah, because I know you guys don't eat. And then Rosalie breaks a bowl and steps on it. Perfect, right? The actress, Nikki Reed, who plays Rosalie, is wearing gloves. The only fucking reason that Rosalie is wearing those motherfucking gloves is so she can break that motherfucking bowl. Could they not get a bowl that was made of sugar candy like they do for most breakaway windows and things like that and have her break that without gloves?
Seriously?
Why is she wearing gloves? Why?
So out of context.
Why is she wearing gloves?
So out of context. Rosalie is not a glover. It's not a fashion choice. It's not something
and every single time I see it, I'm like, who made that choice? I have a feeling it was probably Nikki, that she was like, I don't want to break this without some protection. But dude.
Right. But if they gave her plastic that they knew would break and look like glass, why couldn't they have done the sugar? The sugar ones. They could have totally done the sugar ones.
And I don't know how she would have broken it. Don't know how she would have broken it if it wasn't made of sugar anyway. It looked like a Pyrex dish. And you're not breaking those with your hands.
Fuck no. I mean, unless you drop them on the ground.
So, second biggest
peeve. Oh, I have one too.
Second biggest pet peeve for me is in Breaking Dawn Part 1. When they are getting married, when Bella and Edward are getting married, if you look just off to the left, so over Bella's shoulder, you'll notice that the actress whose name escapes me right now, who plays Esme, sat wrong on her dress. And so she moves the dress and then looks at the director to make sure that we shouldn't cut.
I never noticed that.
You will not be able to unsee it now. I have now made it something that everyone will see. So, there you go.
There's a lot of problems with that film.
Oh yeah,
for me.
Like in the first movie where Bella goes, "What is going on? Do you want to, K-Stu? We all know you're a better actress than that. Come on.
We know. I mean, you've been nominated for freaking Academy Awards and Oscars.
She has won what is the equivalent of an Oscar in France. She's only the second American in history to ever win it.
She's very talented.
Very talented.
They really fucked her.
They really did.
But what bothers me, okay, right now after our rewatch, the thing that bugs me the most out of that complete series is the waste of funds. They had made so much money on those films.
Yeah.
So much fucking money on those films.
So much
and
money.
Did we spend any any money on computer graphics.
I mean, they did.
And we spent a fucking... No, they're not even good wolves. Come on, you know those...
I think they do a good job with the wolves. It's the fake baby that gets me.
The baby, the wolves, it's just not... no, they could have did this more seamless.
But, it was awful.
But I get to say this time. Hey, we're almost 20 fucking minutes in.
No, it's only 15.
You want to talk about a
So respectfully, fuck you. Yes, let's talk about this.
Okay, this is my pick this week, guys.
Yeah, The Perfect Marriage by Jeneva Rose.
Okay, so I'm doing this week a little different.
Okay.
Guys, before I do a synopsis, we are doing spoilers this episode.
Yeah.
Our new peeps, we do spoilers every episode.
Yeah.
It's what we always have fucking done.
We don't always let you know because we always do it.
This book has a massive spoiler. We are going to be talking about this massive spoiler.
This is a mystery thriller. So we're going to tell you what happened in the end. We're going to give you the plot twist. Because
I'm talking about it at the top of this episode too, because it affects the whole storyline. So if you don't want to hear what happens in this book, take this from us. Read this fucking book.
And then come back.
And then come right back. Because this book, goddamn, woman. Goddamn.
This is not even my genre, and I liked it.
No, that's what I told Matt. That's what I told Matt. I go, Matt, April liked it. He goes, she hates horror and thrillers. And I go, I know!
I do.
So, okay.
Yeah, so, I really liked this one. So
what I'm saying, don't be coming to whine to me on Apple or Insta or TikTok about how I ruined this book for you. This came out in 2020. This is her first book. Jeneva Rose is super huge on TikTok.
Her second book is out now.
Yeah, she's got like a handful of them. They're all like, there's so many out right now. But the reason I know her is because of TikTok, but I want to talk about that. So synopsis.
Yeah, so this is your last warning. We don't mind if you skip an episode because you don't want it to be spoiled. I have a few coworkers that listen to Book Besties, and I'm always like, do not listen to that one until you read it. Like, do not.
Okay, this is it, guys. This is the final warning. Yeah. Big spoilers in this episode.
Yeah, that's it. Synopsis.
In Jeneva Rose's debut novel, A Perfect Marriage, we meet Sarah and Adam Morgan on their 10-year anniversary. Sarah's life is pretty great. She's one of the top defense attorneys in DC. She's a named partner at her firm. And she has a loving husband that and they've just decided to start a family together. Adam doesn't see things that way. Adam, 4 years her senior, saw a brief glimpse of fame and glory when his books had some mild success a few years ago. And now he's a struggling author who spends his free time at their second home, out in the cabin in the woods, drinking scotch, writing, and sleeping with his mistress, having an affair. Things turn sideways when Adam is arrested the day after their anniversary and accused of murdering his mistress, Kelly. Little does anyone know that this isn't her name, and her lies and her life seems to just drag him deeper into trouble. Her husband, Scott, a cop, doesn't seem to be helping the situation at all. As the book goes on, we get deeper into this murder mystery, suspense, whatever the fuck you want to call it. We meet Adam's mother, who is cold, awful to Sarah, and just plastic. She a bitch. Michael, the gay BFF of Sarah, who's also an attorney, who is a lobbyist for the wealthy oilers, of course. Her assistant/friend, Anne, who's always by her side, a very faithful Anne. And Bob, a fellow lawyer from her firm, who is always at Sarah's heels, trying to gun for her job, take everything she has and built up and just always coming at her. And then there's the local sheriff, Sheriff Ryan Stevens, who doesn't seem to believe anything that's going on or anyone. He's the suspicious of all of us. So, ready for this?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, I just realized something that I had forgotten. I'm going to write a note to myself.
Okay. I want to get to the ending of this book. I want to I want to get the ending out of the way before we talk about anything else. This twist was huge, and it will affect everything we talk about from here first. Oh, I even wrote this in. Spoilers, guys. Fucking spoilers! In all caps. We learn in the very last pages, minutes, depending on what you listen to, audiobook or physical book, that Sarah and Bob planned all of this.
And the assistant.
They did everything together. It was meticulously thought out and just it was perfection in my mind.
Sarah covered him in a tarp and then stabbed his mistress repeatedly.
Yep. Did this shock you? Was this a good twist?
Fucking amazing. So I was listening to this book as an audiobook, and usually my audiobooks, I don't listen to audiobooks when I'm home. Like they are, well, they're when I'm getting ready and they're when I'm in the car, because I have a longer commute.
Yeah.
But I was so close to the end. I told Tom, I was like, I have like 2 hours left in this. This is, I can't, I have to know what happens.
It's spectacular.
This book to me had a lot of Gone Girl vibes. It had the dual narration that you get from Gone Girl. It had the unreliable narrators. It had the what the fuck is happening. You never knew what the truth was. You never knew. And every one of these motherfuckers lied, because I know you don't have a question about this, but the third set of DNA was the sheriff.
Yeah.
So the woman, the mistress, what was her name?
Kelly.
Kelly had slept with 3 men in at least a 24-hour period because,
Nasty.
Yeah, that's 3 penises, ladies. That's a lot of penises.
That's a lot of penis.
That's a lot of penises. And, you know, sperm can live in your body for like 24, 48 hours. So they found 3 different people's sperm in her.
Who else was she sleeping with?
The sheriff.
I mean like if there were 3 in her.
Her husband, the sheriff.
No, but what I'm saying is if they found 3,
okay, yeah.
Who else? Like, you're telling me there was only 3? I doubt that.
Yeah.
I feel like Kelly, I know we didn't get much of this character, but I feel like she was playing angles.
Oh,
I feel like Kelly was always playing angles.
Her first husband was murdered in the same way that she ends up being murdered. Stabbed the same number of times.
Karma's a bitch!
And she's charged with murder, and they end up losing something, and so the trial basically gets thrown out, and it's implied pretty explicitly that her current husband helped her. He was a cop then, and he hid the evidence or whatever to get her off. But she was telling Scott that her husband was beating her.
And
she was telling what's our main guy? What's his name?
Adam.
She was telling Adam that Scott was beating her. So she's just pitting people against each other. This girl is cray-cray.
Well, she's manipulative.
Oh yeah. She's probably a bit of some sort of like sociopath, something like that. She's cray-cray. And the assistant, this is what the thought I had that I had forgotten about. I know you re-listened to this, so I because you were writing questions, you wanted to try to find the things that linked together.
Yeah.
At the very beginning of the book, the assistant, what is her name? Her name is Anne. And Sarah, they go out together that night from work.
Yeah.
And the next morning, Anne says something to her about, I'm sorry things got weird last night. And she's like, it's okay, it happens. I totally thought that Anne is so cray-cray obsessed with Sarah that
they kissing her?
Kissed her while they were drunk. That's what I was thinking. Happened. Those bitches murdered somebody.
I thought Anne was like single white femaling her.
Didn't I text you that? I feel like the assistant is involved somehow. She has got seriously single white female vibes.
This twist, this is coming from me. I can predict this shit. This is my genre. Mm-hmm. This is my jam. Mm-hmm. Usually, I know where this shit is going. Geneva, ma'am, you stumped me.
Yeah, and that's why I don't usually like this genre, because I usually can figure out where it's going. So when it surprises me, I'm like, damn. And that's how I felt about Gone Girl, too. Mm-hmm. When I got to the chapter where she was alive, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
This woman's crazy.
Yeah. Geneva Rose is new to us at Pod.
Yeah.
While she hits the sweet spot of genres for me,
yeah,
she isn't your normal Speed.
Right.
What did you think of her writing style?
If you put her on Pod again, I would be fine with that. Like,
I
it
want
was really good.
I'm going to reach out. Geneva, your romance. I want it. We want it. Please.
She has a romance novel?
She's got one coming out. I know. I fell in love with her on TikTok. Mm-hmm. If you guys haven't seen this, her husband, Scott, which, of course, she made a character after her husband's name. If you watch them all on TikTok.
That's not his name.
Her husband's name is Scott. It's Drew. Her husband's name is Drew.
Scott is the guy who, harasses
her husband's name is Drew. I'm sorry. I keep mixing them up. It's just, all these names are the fucking same. I'm sorry. Scott, Drew, Adam, Andrew. They're all the fucking same names. Anyways, I fell in love with them on TikTok during the pandemic when her husband watched Twilight for the first time. Mm-hmm. And he lost his ever-loving fucking mind.
After you mentioned that in last week's episode, I did a deep dive and watched the whole series of him watching Twilight on TikTok. And he literally pauses the video and just starts laughing. And my favorite one is when he calls out Bella for not caring that Jacob imprinted on her daughter, but caring more that he gave her the nickname Nessie.
That's the one. That is the one. He's like, oh, it's okay for pedophilia, but we can't be the Loch Ness fucking monster.
I laughed so hard. Oh my gosh, I laughed so hard.
Anyways,
my other favorite was his reactions to the fight scene that wasn't. Yes. When he realized it was not real, he was like, what?
That was all of us, Drew.
Yeah.
That was all of us.
Well, we read it, and so we were going, what is happening? Why did they change this?
My favorite
sobbing that Carlisle's
dead. Me too. I'm like, Carlisle's dead. Carlisle can't be dead. Why is Carlisle dead? And Matt leaned over and goes, is this supposed to happen? Get away from me!
No, it was not. But honestly, that is one props I do give to the movie series. There was no reason that the Volturi just left the field.
No.
The movie gave them a reason. Although, in retrospect, it doesn't make sense. Alice can't see the future when the werewolves are involved.
Or
Renesmee. So, yeah. So, you get this, even though I like that you gave a reason. You still get bullshit.
Okay. So we get dual narration in this book. Mm-hmm. Adam's POV and Sarah's POV.
Yes.
Did you think she did this well? Do you think both characters were filled out?
I didn't believe either one of them. They were absolutely both hiding something. And even though they were both being forthcoming about things that they had done, they were still full of shit. It was the perfect way to write an unreliable narrator.
See, Adam, I think he was always telling us the truth. I think he was just an idiot who thought with his penis all the time. So since you talked about that, let's talk about the unreliable narrator. Mm-hmm. Since I've already ruined the big twist, we are talking about the mechanisms of this book right now. We've seen this before. Is Sarah a reliable narrator?
No. I mean, especially because we know in the end that she was actually the murderer, and she made it seem like she was grieving that her husband was having an affair.
Woman deserves an Oscar.
And when it actually comes out that Anne knew about the affair and didn't tell Sarah,
and they played that fucking. Okay, I have a question about that scene, so we're gonna jump.
I'll hold off on that. But I didn't find Adam to be a reliable narrator either, and the reason for me is because those Gone Girl vibes that I had. There was no way he was innocent. Even if he was telling us about the affair, even if he was telling us the vile things about him, there was no way. In the beginning of the book, when he leaves Kelly in the bed, he before he goes, he says, I touched her center and it was wet, but she didn't respond. So
he literally put his fingers inside her vagina when she was sleeping and
she was dead at that point. Yeah. But how did he not get blood on himself? They never talk about him having bloody clothes or blood on his hands. There's no way that he got out of that bed without having blood on him.
And you know what? Sarah knew and just let him put fucking evidence everywhere.
Not only that, but Sarah knew that he had spent the day fucking his mistress Then she murdered his mistress. Then she slept with him to try to make a baby.
Well, to make a baby. I don't think she ever wanted a fucking baby.
I thought she really was pregnant, though. I mean, and she was.
Oh, no. Kind of, but not really.
Didn't she get pregnant? Don't they say that at the end of the book that she
had a baby with Bob, but it was after the fact.
Not
those
Bob.
Kids.
She married Bob?
She married Bob. Bob was a part of this.
I know, but I don't remember that that's the person she married.
She marries Bob after.
Her
and Bob get married at the end.
I didn't remember that that was the person that she married. I knew that she got married. Bob. Yes, Bob.
Bob.
And they didn't want to raise Summer in the middle of DC. That's what it says. But I could have sworn that that the baby was not Bob's.
Yeah. So let's talk about Sarah a little bit.
Okay.
At first, we feel for her, right? Your first read of this book, you're like, Jesus, this fucking sucks. This poor woman is going through one of the worst things you can ever imagine a fucking woman to go through. She has to defend a cheating husband. She has to pretend to believe him, or maybe she does believe him. I don't know at that point, right? I didn't believe him. I can't believe that she believed him.
Right.
And I was seeing the facts from him.
Right.
And as we're going along through Sarah's perspective, you feel really bad for her.
Right.
Till that last 5 minutes.
That last chapter, that's her. So the end of the book is the last 3 chapters. It's Sarah's point of view where she's in the cell. So Adam is convicted of murder, and he's given the death penalty because Kelly was pregnant.
Yeah.
And so
with his kid.
And it's a double homicide. So he gets the death penalty, and so Sarah's in the cell with him saying goodbye, and she's doing this thing where she's at intervals of time, she's like patting him.
Yeah.
And then she says, I know I'll be the last thing you think about, or something about that. And
I want to be the last thing you think about before you die, because
I actually know what happened, basically.
Yeah.
And then he goes to, get his death penalty, and then he starts thinking about it, and he's like, holy fuck, she did this to me. And she's sitting there watching him be put to death, and so she's
making direct eye contact with him, and he's looking at her while she's holding his crying mother's hand.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then the very next day, she marries the guy that helped plan the murder.
Who she already has children with. She knew he would never sign divorce papers, so she stopped trying.
Oh my gosh. That woman is crazy.
Adam, we can tell, this is, by the way, we're on question 5. Adam, we can tell, this book deserves it.
Yeah.
This book deserves,
This is a good book.
Adam, we can tell from the beginning of this book, he resents his wife. Mm-hmm. He seems jealous and spiteful, even in chapter 4 at the beginning.
He's kind of a dick.
He's awful to her.
He's blaming the affair on her, and then his mom does that later too. Like, if you would have been home, he wouldn't have cheated on you. No,
she's the mom that came and did his laundry every week at college, kind of mom.
That's gross. That's gross. She buys him Lunchables and Gushers
because she doesn't know him.
And his wife buys him steaks.
Yeah. From the way he talks about her all the times, she's a saint, and then other times he resents her. He either thinks Sarah hangs the moon or Sarah's the devil. There's no in between for this man when it comes to his wife. Was there anything surprising about this character for you or his storyline? Like,
no,
were you surprised at all that he was a cheater?
No, not at all. It feels like something that would happen in the world that they live in. He's not getting enough attention, neither from his wife nor his adored readers. He needs
mediocre white men.
Yes, exactly. He needs the attention, so he needs to feel good about himself. So he picks up the slutty waitress. And I don't call women slutty very often.
I don't either.
You do you, boo-boo, but that girl was a hoe.
But she
was playing all of the men in her life.
She was absolutely doing this. Every action, if we got this from Kelly's point of view, I bet you that every action she had was for a reason. I bet you she purposely got pregnant with him. I bet he's the only man she tried to get pregnant with. Yeah. And I bet you she was planning on blackmailing him.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't have. So do you really think he loved both women?
I think he thought he did.
I don't think that man knows what love is.
I just don't. I know people say, you know, I love both of them, whatever, when they have an affair, but I just don't think you can do that. Like, you
Your
can
heart
love
leaves.
many people, but you can't love romantically multiple people. And that's not to judge people who are polyamorous. There are people that have that polyamorous, or they have, you know, whatever, but the polyamorous relationships and open marriages come with a lot of rules. And the rules are usually you
boundaries.
can't fall in love with the other person. Like, it's
And boundaries.
right. And this wasn't that. When you're sneaking around with somebody else, you don't love the person that you're committed to. You don't.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't do that to them.
I don't think he knows what love is.
Mm-hmm.
I think he had a mom that catered to him. I think he had a dad that was never there. And I think he thought he was going to have that life.
Mm-hmm.
I think he thought he was going to be a Times best-selling, multi-million-dollar author who had a wife that patted around and waited on him hand and foot. Mm-hmm. And when he married her, she just wasn't that thing. Right. And so he got spiteful and mad and angry. And, something I want to talk about that we forgot to mention about the ending. She admits to killing her mom.
Oh, yeah.
Sarah killed her junkie mom.
Yeah, we think the whole time that her mom died from OD, and she had one needle in her arm, and Sarah added a few. So this was her second murder. Maybe that's why she's such a good motherfucking defense attorney.
She couldn't see the evil. Mm-hmm. In this rural town outside of DC, like all rural towns outside of DC, I would know, I live in one.
But this one's in Virginia, where I live.
Yeah, but literally it's the same thing, just west. West. But my point of this is that, are you surprised by the actions of the small town cops and behavior?
No.
The beating of him, the jumping over the table, hitting Sarah, like Scott, his partner, any of it. Are you surprised by any of it?
No, and it's not just the small town vibes. I mean, that's what TV portrays cop shows as well. But it, again, Gone Girl. Nobody trusts anyone. Everyone's, suspicious. There's blaming at everyone. Her husband being a police officer, I mean, of course, he's going to walk in and beat the shit out of the man who's been banging his wife.
Because he's been abusing his wife.
Well,
or so we think.
That's what we think. Although it doesn't seem that she was actually being abused.
But who was doing? She was hitting herself?
I don't think so. I actually think Bob somehow arranged it because he was looking to get revenge on her. Or maybe she really did just do what fall or something, because she did have bruises on her. Or maybe the sheriff liked things rough, and when he was banging her, he was being a little rough.
I don't know.
I don't know.
We are not getting this. That's what bothers me the most about. Okay, that's I need everyone's story. Mm-hmm. Like, I am so enthralled in this. I am so wrapped up in all of this.
Yeah.
But
I don't think. Okay, so I'm going to defend it. I don't think that there was a conclusion needed for everybody. We know that Scott was some sort of fucker because he ran away
too. Yeah.
He didn't want to get caught up in all of it, and he was pretty convinced that he was going to get pulled in, so he just buggered off.
And he's bound to change jobs.
Or Bob and Sarah arranged for him to be killed too. We don't know. That could have been what happened.
But I mean, he's bounced and rearranged to have a new name and a new job, and he's disappeared before as a cop
in two different places, but somehow
as two different names and
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
It just
all that shit get flagged on a background check. Come on.
I know. This murder. We're on number 7, by the way.
We're doing great. This is a good conversation about this book. There's a lot to say.
This murder was well thought out and planned before the spoiler, before we knew the truth. Mm-hmm. Who did you think it was?
You're gonna find this funny. Mm-hmm. I thought it was the sheriff.
I did too. Mm-hmm. I thought so too.
I thought he was my two main people that I suspected were either the sheriff or Anne. That was what I thought.
So I either thought Anne was like a long shot guess for me.
Mhm.
It was either the sheriff or Anne for me too, only because I had that single white female thing in my back of my head, right?
But I think she was more likely to kill Adam than the mistress.
I think it was I thought it was the sheriff because like he kept saying Kelly's a good girl. Kelly's a good girl. Kelly's a good girl. Like he was
I never really trusted Scott. I don't think your husband did it.
He was just way too invested.
He was involving himself with Sarah a lot more than he should have.
And he was trying to be like flirty with her.
Yeah,
and it was just, it was really weird. Okay, this one has multiple questions. So I'll read it off and then we'll hit them point by point.
Let's do it.
Was Kelly a victim in all this? Or do you think she was going to set up Adam eventually the way she set up her first husband? Was Kelly murdered before she could do some real damage?
I don't think we can definitively answer that. I mean, we can have an opinion on it, which is what we're here to do. But
that's kind of like what we do. We talk about these people as
I know, but
real people.
I feel like I don't have enough information about her to make that decision because even though we're pretty confident that she killed her first husband, it doesn't necessarily mean that she was going to kill Adam or kill Scott. I don't know. I don't feel like we have enough information about her to do.
I don't think. Okay. So I have a second theory or a different theory. I think Kelly was set up for her husband's murder by Scott. I think Scott was obsessed with her, dragged her away, disappeared them, and had control over her. Then she kept telling everybody the same story. Scott controls me. He beats me, whatever. So the sheriff, she was using the sheriff and Adam to see who could get her out faster. Yeah. And I think her long game was playing these both men to see who she'd get pregnant by first and see who would rescue her or fix the situation. And as things kept going and she started getting dirtier and dirtier, she just ended up being buried instead.
I mean, that's definitely possible, Molly. I feel like we just don't have enough information about her. I don't think she would have stopped anything that she was doing because I truly think that she was a bit of a sociopath. And she was always looking for someone to save her because she wanted attention. I'm a princess. I'm just a baby.
Okay, so next question. I need the book out for this. So
because you wrote that question like half-assed.
Weird.
I had to text you and like
I knew what I meant.
You did, but you have to ask me the question.
Okay. From chapter 42. 42 is Scott. 43 is Sarah. Then, yes. And then 44 is not Scott. It goes Adam, Sarah, Adam. From 42 to 44 to 45. Okay? Is everybody caught up? Everyone playing the home game?
What page?
238 I'm on.
Okay.
During this time frame in the book, you can see it's like near the end. Okay, this is where I thought the climax,
the back half.
Yeah, I thought this was all going to be court case. I truly did. I thought this was all going to be trial.
We don't even get the trial.
No, we don't, which is fucking weird. But that's beside the point. During this scene, what happens? So backstory. He has a reporter helping him, Adam. The reporter is somebody else. Long story short,
the report PI.
Yeah, working for Scott, right?
Working for Sarah tells Adam that the reporter is a PI working for Scott, but she was actually hired by Bob and Sarah to lead him in that direction.
Right. Okay. I knew I couldn't remember the direction of that. There's just so many things. There's so many strings in this book. There's so many strings. So he finds out about the picture. He figures out who sent the picture. Because he was had, okay? A week before this all went down, he got a mysterious threatening letter. End it or I will. Ooh, right? So he figured out that the handwriting was Anne's. So he loses his shit and steals the car from the reporter and takes off to DC to go confront Anne because he is certain at this point.
Note, why the fuck did he think it was a good idea to let that reporter come in and talk to her and try to get
because she's like, I was a student.
He's an idiot.
His wife knew if she stroked his ego just a smidge, he'd open that door.
It had to be a woman.
And it had to be a pretty woman because she knew he'd go in, like, she knew he'd put the moves on.
Yep.
She knew he'd put the moves on because he's a fucking dog. Gross. So he steals her car. He races to the law firm. He comes in screaming. Remember, homie's on house arrest. He comes in screaming. The police are following him. And he's threatening Anne. You did it. You did all this. And he starts losing his shit. This was the high point of the book. This is where all of the characters in this whole storyline comes together.
Yeah.
I truly thought this was our big break in the book.
Yeah, I thought this is where we were going to find out what really happened.
Right. So this scene was a false, it was a false aha for us. Right? Jeneva really surprised us and really got us. What did you think of all this? Because she really played it hard.
I thought... Honestly, Sarah kept talking about how his behavior was the behavior of someone who was guilty and trying to find a way out. And I felt like that was absolutely how he was behaving.
Yeah. He was looking for someone to pass the buck. Right.
It ended up being interesting because we find out that Anne knew longer than Sarah did about the affair, and Sarah feels very betrayed by that.
Right.
But I'll tell you, probably the best acting that Sarah does is how she seems to hate Bob. That he's some womanizer and some asshole,
awful trash can human being. She audibly talks shit about him.
Oh yeah, she seems to really hate him, and she says these things to Anne, who even in the end we find out she knew about all of this. So the fact that she was it feels like
they were playing it. They were play acting.
It feels like it was foreplay for them.
They were play acting, right? I feel like because her and Anne were playing a game. Knowing that there were eyes constantly. Yeah. So if somebody walked by her office and heard them talking shit about Bob, that wouldn't be surprising.
There's absolutely a cut scene in which the three of them have sex together.
You think so?
I think so.
Here, number 10. In the end, he's convicted. Are you surprised? And we get dual narration all the way to the end. Did you like how she wove these final pages together? How she ended this and just tied it in a little bow? Taking this to death row was spectacular.
Oh, yeah. I thought we would have seen more of the trial or seen, more of his time in jail or anything like that. But we just flash forward from the opening statements to he's been in, I think at that point it had been 10, 15 years, something like that.
That he was on death row for 15 years or something, 20 years.
Something like that. It was a significant amount of time.
It was.
And then they were there on the death day. And she's getting married the next day, which is just wow. What a way to move on. I thought it was really well handled. And I liked the escalation of time. It flowed very well with this type of book. I honestly was a little surprised that he was convicted because I truly believed that she was trying to get him off, that she was trying and she was possibly going to be successful. And then we would find out what really happened.
No,
I didn't expect him to get the death penalty. I did. I figured he could be convicted, but not death. I didn't see that coming. I definitely didn't see that she defended him the best she could because she was actually a murderer. Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
I really think, I mean, hindsight's 2020. This is after I've read it and everything. I really think that was her end goal.
Oh, it was. She says that.
She says played she has
this everything meticulously planned out.
Right. Okay. So there's a few lines. There was one line. So when I started my re-listen, and this is the only thing I want to say. So when I started my re-listen, Jeneva, you gave it away. Freaking page 4. was wild. Where was
Okay,
it?
but a lot of authors that are really good with this genre, they do give it away. And it's the point is that we don't know that they've given it away.
So they're kissing, okay? And he kisses her real deep and she looks at him lovingly and she goes, I'm thinking about calling it all off, but I have to go to work. Like, calling what off?
Yeah, I was just thinking it was work.
Me too at first, but now
Now we know the truth.
Final thoughts. Do you have any beefs with the book? April Goodreads.
I don't have any beefs with it. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. And I think that's a good rating for it. I'm surprised this is a first time author, and I'm really surprised that the care at which Jeneva Rose was able to handle this kind of plot, dual narrators. This is 2 books in a row that we've talked about multiple narrators with first time authors, and it's not an easy thing to do.
No, and it just so good.
So good.
So good.
And I think that the reason it doesn't get a 5 for me has more to do with that this isn't my preferred genre than it has to do with the book itself. Yeah. So
that makes sense. I mean, it's not your genre. It isn't. No. I'm surprised you liked it as much as you did, though.
Well, to be honest with you, I was talking to my other best friend, Dawn. I know. I'm sorry. I love her too. I've loved her longer. You just have to be okay with that. I'm sorry.
I love you, Dawn, even though I don't know you.
We've met her.
I know.
But
I just don't know her as well as you do.
I know. So I was talking to her yesterday and she had asked a question about Pod. And Dawn's not like a real super big reader. Somehow she's in 2 book clubs and she doesn't really like to read. And Lessons in Chemistry is like one of the books they're going to be covering in book club. And she was asking me, how the Pod was going. And I was like, I feel like even though I've always been a really proficient reader, I mean, reading has been my profession my entire adult life. I was an English teacher and now I'm a librarian. But it's
your passion too. Like,
right. But I feel like I've become a better, more well-rounded reader, definitely a more diverse reader. I'm not gravitating only to one genre. And the reason is because you put those books on the Pod. I would absolutely not read historical fiction. I would not have read this book that was so very good.
There's so many of them that are like that. Like, I can't think of one off the top of my head.
And I don't like every book that you pick for Pod.
Right.
But
same.
Right. But I feel like if it weren't for Pod, I would be reading my physical TBR, which is behind me right now, which is just all rom-coms.
Right. But it doesn't just... My writing's improved.
Yeah.
My writing has improved.
Yeah.
Leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's I'm having a wider range, if it's more I'm having more thoughtful... We're having really thoughtful conversations. I think
you're seeing good writing and bad writing as well. Yeah. And so you know what pitfalls to avoid.
Right. And I know, and it's definitely helping me clarify my voice.
Yeah, I think so. I would say your writing has gotten stronger too.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. You're still mad at me though.
I am, but I love you, so it's fine. I'll read whatever you send to me.
You always do.
So you want to talk about next week?
Sure.
Okay, so next week we are going to come back to TJ Klune and we're going to read Under the Whispering Door. And
another trigger warning week, guys.
Oh yeah, we'll have to talk about it because the author's note at the beginning of this one is this story explores life and love as well as loss and grief. I'll read the rest of it next week, but it's about death, which has been fun since I just experienced a huge loss in my life. But I'm a little less than halfway through. I've got this adorable Sprayed Edges edition. We loved The House in the Cerulean Sea. So TJ Klune, we're giving him a second go. So we'll talk.
We have high hopes. Let's hope it doesn't disappoint.
We'll see. We'll talk about it next week. And then we will end the month in 2 weeks with this book, No One Left to Come Looking for You.
I'm excited to read that.
This one's really kind of short. It's just a little over 200 pages.
Yeah.
So 210 pages. So
I'm excited to read that. I saw that on TikTok. It was my book talk on my personal TikTok is a very wide range. I have nonfiction book talkers on there. I have horror. I have thriller.
Right.
Like, I have my range of reading.
Right.
And that was one of that guy that I always send you the extreme horrors from. That was one of his suggestions.
This is a horror? I thought it was just...
No, it's just the mildest book from his collections I've picked
Thank
for you.
For that. And then in October, we have Chezzy back again, Francesca Zappia, our friend. And she's not talking about one of her books this time. She's going to read a spooky read with us. She likes spooky books.
She's so excited.
I know. She just tagged us on social media of her reading the book. And I just was like, I'm so excited. I really like her a lot. Like, she's a good person. And she's fun.
She's a friend of the pod.
What'd you say?
She's a friend of the pod.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm thankful to have her. She was our first author, and she's been so loyal and keeps coming on again. So we'll do spooky books in October. So yeah.
I'm really excited. She sent me, she was giving away all those books on her social to teachers, and she sent me one so I could give it to like the kids.
Oh,
and
I love that.
Piper took it to her English teacher to bribe him.
That's hilarious. She sent one to me too. I asked her if she would send one, and we gave it away. We did a book tasting over the summer for the teens.
Awesome.
And so we had like all these different stations of these different books and synopsis of the books and food and all these things. And we did a door prize for the teens that came to give away. I think she sent us Cats and Jammer. So
that's what I had. That's what I sent, Cats and Jammer.
Yeah.
It's a good book. Okay, besties, we are just talking and bullshitting.
Yeah. We gotta go. We can talk.
We can talk later. I got nothing else.
No, I don't either. We'll see you.
We'll see you guys next week. Bye, fuckers.
Molly.
Bye. Thank you for joining us on Book Besties. The views discussed here are those of Molly and April and not those of anyone else. Today's book was The Perfect Marriage by Jeneva Rose. Your book besties are Molly Biggs and April Watkins. Editing by Thomas Watkins, and music is Sleep Sweetly by Brigida. Don't forget to follow the Book Besties on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. If you'd like to contact the Book Besties, please email us at bookbestiespod@gmail.com or visit our website, www.bookbestiespodcast.com. Until next time, besties, get lost in your favorite book.